In favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And that brings us to our discussion agenda, item number 16, proposed revisions to Board Policy IKG, Secondary Education, shown in Exhibit E. Dr. Melton.
Thank you, Chairman Gant. Board members, if you'll join me in Exhibit E, I'm just going to ask that you look at the very last page, which is where we have some revisions that we are going to recommend to you. This policy and the one to follow, you will see, are both related to secondary education. We're trying to make sure that we are being responsive to our current instructional program, but also trying to look ahead to the future to make sure that we are prepared for an accountability system that is going to be measuring our dual enrollment credits, going to be measuring our opportunities such as AP and IB, and going to be looking at what kind of things we offer beyond the typical traditional high school experience. So tonight, for your consideration, under concurrent college enrollment, let's calibrate our definition because there's so many different understandings of what concurrent enrollment means. In School District 5, we define this to be requiring a student to take a course, to complete the course successfully, obviously, but to pass a national exam. And the national exam is contracted through a college. So an example of that would be at our center, the Project Lead the Way courses that the center offers. Student goes through the coursework for the entire duration of the college, for the high school credits. They take an exam. They could get the high school credits for taking the class, but also get some credit towards their college transcript if they did well enough on the exam. So our recommendations tonight about this particular policy is to increase from 2 to 4. You'll see that in the second paragraph. And then you'll see that we've stricken the constriction of in arts or associate in science degrees. We're just looking for perhaps an associate's degree to broaden the opportunities that our students may have for college or career preparation, not making it quite as limited. The likelihood is strong that we'll be in the arts area or in the science or the arts area, but still it would give us an opportunity to broaden it just a little bit. We took this policy to the center. Both Dr. Gates and obviously Dr. Couch were heavily involved with this, and their recommendation was to change it from 2 to 4 so that we could increase our completer rate and we could expose more students to opportunities at the center. So those are the two changes for this policy. Mr. Gant, I'll defer to you for any questions that the board may have.
Anyone have questions? Ms. Hutchison.
I'm looking at these two together, and the one that you're just talking about, it said is as many as 4 Carnegie units may be earned. And then in the next policy, under the dual credit courses, it says dual credit courses are not to exceed 4 per year. Are dual credit different than concurrent college enrollment?
Yes, ma'am. We're considering them different. The definition that we're looking at for concurrent college enrollment would be those courses that high school students take. The exam is contracted through a college. The student has to pass the coursework, but then has to pass the national exam on top of that. A dual credit course, and I'll use Teacher Cadet as an example. A student may take Teacher Cadet, do well throughout the year, but there's no national exam that's required for that. There may be a university or a program exam that the student has to complete, but there's no national exam. So that would be probably the easiest comparison to differ between concurrent enrollment and a dual credit.
Can you give an example of what type of courses this would be?
A lot of them are at the center. Your biomedical engineering, your clean air and energy.
I'm sorry, I should have said, so dual credit, is that the one you're describing?
That will be concurrent enrollment.
So that's concurrent enrollment?
Yes. So
Okay.
dual credit may be your Psychology 101. It may be Teacher Cadet, Criminal Justice courses that we are contracting with a neighboring university, whether it be Midlands, whether it be USC, which we work with USC Lancaster for our dual enrollment. But the concurrent enrollment would be within the course offerings that all students could take in School District 5, as would be the dual credit. The difference would be the national exam piece. So the national exam is how we differentiate the concurrent enrollment from the dual credit. Does that help?
Yeah.
This is educational ease.
It really is. And so then the concurrent college enrollment, that's typically at the Career Center?
Primarily, yes, ma'am. Our Project Lead the Way courses courses that we partner with SREB, the Southern Regional Educational Board, courses that have a high rigorous level, and that we contract through colleges to partner with us to offer those. Those colleges may not necessarily be nearby, not even in the state of South Carolina.
Okay. Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Ms. Hammond?
I have two questions. They're two different things. But with the IB, I've been around long enough to remember the big fight over IB and AP, and let's forget that. But now that's over. But I do want to ask this. Is it equal in the GPA? Is an IB program at Irmo High, do they get the same quality points that the AP gets?
Yes, ma'am. So if you look behind tab F and flip to page 3, you will see a conversion chart.
Okay.
And this obviously is the next agenda item, but it may help increase the
Oh, I'm sorry,
understanding
I
for these
skipped.
two. So if you look in the conversion chart, you see where AP, IB, and dual credit would all be of comparable weight.
Okay.
So
Because
it-
that's so important to
Absolutely.
parents and then to the kids.
Absolutely.
Because the parents are looking, toward, they're thinking about the scholarships, even though kids are, but
Mm-hmm.
really, a parent's got more involved in that than the kids.
I
My
would
other
love-
question,
I would love for us to take credit for this, but this is actually given to us by the State Department of Education. So
Yeah.
this is the state uniform conversion.
That's
bill,
good,
So just
because-
to make sure that we understand collectively.
and it's good, and I don't know if many go on and, go to our webpage and see this, but it's important that they understand it.
Absolutely.
My other question was, which I thought about when Ms. Hutchinson was asking her question, we still have the opportunity, with what they call the middle college, where they take something from Midlands Tech while they're enrolled at our school, but they get credit at Tech. Are we doing that?
Partnerships are an annual decision.
Oh,
And
okay.
we have to make sure that we sit down with them and practice two sides of the tables negotiating.
Yeah.
To make sure that we can find a way to compromise. We prefer using our own faculty, because
I
when we
see.
design a schedule, and if you're the Midlands Tech or any university coming in, and I'm a high school, I've got to offer assurance to my students that you're going to be in attendance. So that has not worked for us in the past, so we have changed in this school district to work towards using our faculty to teach our courses, which of course requires that we go through the calibration process where we submit things to the appropriate university, that they review our credentials that our teachers have, and then they approve whether our staff is qualified
To
to their
teach
level
that
to
course.
teach the class.
So, but we have done that in the past.
We
Am I
have
right?
done that in the past.
Well, I think it's really, it's a testament to how good our
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Couch is. We have our own center now that probably at one point we weren't able to offer all we have now.
That's-
But I just wondered, because I know that a lot of our students do go to Midlands Tech, even if it's just to, jumpstart and go to a four-year school.
Sure.
So I just wanted to ask that while we were on
Now,
the.
I think you used the term Midlands Middle College.
No, they call it, I thought at one time, I thought
There
they
was
called
a
it.
Midlands Middle College.
Yes.
It's now a charter school.
Oh, it's got a
So
different name.
It's a separate entity. It doesn't operate the way that it
Did
did
originally. That
four or
was my
5 years
question.
ago. It's a separate school.
Okay. But it's called a charter?
I
good.
think it's a Midlands Middle College, but it is a charter college, a charter school.
school.
But when it started out, it was in partnership with the Midlands area school districts.
Right.
And kids could go there and get credits back at their home campus as well as there. But it doesn't exist in that format anymore.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 17, our board policy IKAR grading assessment systems.
You saw this policy not very long ago, last summer. We spent a lot of time on this. You're seeing it again because now that the state has passed the uniform grading scale, the details are beginning to unfold for us at the individual local levels to define how this impacts our instructional programs. So what you're going to be looking at tonight, if you'll join me the second from the last page of this part of the packet of Exhibit F, you're going to see all the changes are lumped under the dual credit courses, which Ms. Hutchison referenced to earlier tonight. First, I have to offer my appreciation to all of our high school principals. They have read policies from across the state so that we bring forth these recommendations to you for revisions. We can say that we've calibrated where are we compared to other districts, particularly other districts that have demographics and size comparable with ours in School District 5. And then, of course, we look at our own instructional vision. We also look ahead to, as I referenced earlier, the future planning for the accountability model, the future planning for the financial model. We are trying to be ahead of the curve so that when it does impact finance, when it does impact accountability, we can say that we were trying to practice in a proactive manner. But those details are still unfolding as well. But within our calendar, we have already registered many of our students for the coming year, for next year. So Connie Graham, that's over our registrar, she said back in December, I'm done with 2017. It's 2017-18 now. She's already working a full semester ahead. So sometimes it's difficult for people to wrap their minds around just how far ahead we work. But once, as Dr. Heffron said a little while ago, students accept their recommendations for their acceptance for the school for next year, we're going to finalize the course selections for those students within the next month. So things like this that I'm bringing to you is going to make an impact on our instructional calendar and our instructional offerings that we have, but it's not going to press us to make haphazard decisions. We still have to reach out to those partnerships to make sure that we have universities of higher education that we can rely on and partner with in successful ways. So as you look to this dual credit, some things that I want you to be understanding and mindful of as to why we did what we've done. We're trying to make sure that we're making as clear as parents can have it to understand. We don't want this to be intimidating. We want this to be easily understood by anyone who reads this portion of the policy. And then secondly, we want to make sure that we're offering equity and access to our students, and one student doesn't have a competitive edge over another because of the availability of their resources when their family may be able to offer to them. So if you look at the paragraph under dual credit, some changes that we have made, such as removing homeschool, permission from the homeschool, well, who might that be? Might that be the guidance director? Might that be my child's assigned guidance counselor? Who might that be? So we decided to make it much more descriptive of the principal or his or her designee. That way, if I have a question as a parent, I know where to go to get my question answered, and then the principal direct me appropriately. And then some of the other things that you see of exceeding the 4 that Ms. Hutchison referenced earlier, we think that right now we quite frankly don't have that many offerings that we could even offer to a student. At most, at one school, we could say 3, but all 3 of those did not make for this current instructional calendar year. So visionary, we're trying to look ahead of what might we be able to grow towards a program that can offer students some options. So that's when we said exceeding 4, because currently we're looking at 2 with another policy. So as we look ahead, you also notice the detail of within the regular school day of 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. We want to make sure, again, instructional equity is in place, that one child doesn't take something in the evenings or one child doesn't do something during the summer. It's during the instructional calendar. So hopefully these details will be helpful to a parent and also to a student. And then we've stricken the part about the weighting because that's already on the conversion chart. So we didn't feel like it was necessary to repeat that when the chart is much simpler. Many of your parents won't understand what it means by weighting, but if they look at the chart, it's much easier to understand than it would be here in a narrative. So those are our recommendations for revisions for this portion of the policy.
Questions?
One more.
Ms.
On the
Hammond.
retaking courses, it doesn't have a number on the page, but I think it's the last one, Dr. Milton. If they do retake a course, if it's in middle school, they don't have to count that Carnegie in there. But if it's high school and they retake it, you have to average the 2 grades?
Well, Ms. Hammond, you are predicting the future. In this folder lies a brand-new document from the State Department just about uniform grading, which is going to include course recovery, and it's going to include content recovery. So I've sent some emails to the department last Thursday asking, is this still in draft form, or has this been finalized? Because within this one new document, there are 3 things that says that we have to create local policies of which we do not have. So currently, our course credits, we have processes rather than policies. So before I answer that, for fear that what I may say tonight may change as soon as I get direction from the department, if you could let me owe you that one, I'll get back with you on that one, but I'd be afraid to preview and then offer you wrong information.
Well, I know that's the move with the State Department, to, get kids to where they need to be. Do we offer the grad point in middle school for our kids? We call it that, but it's like, let's say, they're behind to try to help them not to fail, and there's time in the instructional day that they can make up a failing grade. I just wondered if we offer that kind of service within, it may vary from school to school, but we have something for that recovery. You may call it RTI. I don't know. I'm maybe using terms that you know, but
We're very selective of who is able to take those courses at the middle school level. We are looking for a profile of a child, of course, including teacher recommendations, but
Good.
also academic performance and portfolio of their accomplishments thus far. If we have a student that gets into a program that earns a Carnegie credit that is not being successful, we intervene, whether that's working with the teacher, whether it's extra practice, or the child and the family may say, you know, I thought my child was ready, but developmentally or maturity, they're not quite there yet. Let's change the course. So we make sure that students are not allowed the opportunity to fail when it comes to trying to get ahead. We want things to be rigorous, not unsuccessful.
I'm so glad to hear that, because there's a lot of that that's just done for, they really haven't relearned it, is what I'm trying to say. And I would like to think that we are doing what you're doing, because that's so important, because more failures are in the 9th grade. They just go and they're not prepared. So,
Well,
thank you for
I'm
being.
proud to say in School District 5, our middle schools average higher than 98% passage rate on EOCs. Some schools consistently post 100% passage rate.
great.
And that's just something that doesn't happen accidentally.
Good.
Mr. Cates?
Dr. Melton, I can't reference a page number, but it's under honors courses. And I apologize, I know this is beyond the scope of the recommendations that you have
Okay.
here, but since we're looking at this policy, the last sentence in the third bullet point says honors weighting may not be designated in any physical education course. Is that language that we include because of guidance from the State Department? Was that a local decision? The reason I ask is I've seen more and more courses fall into that, sports medicine 3, sports assistant, athletic training assisting. There are a lot of those that, because of the research requirement, that kind of thing, that you could very well make a case that they could be an honors weighted course. So I'm just not sure how that language came to be.
There's I guess, a perfect blend of local and state guidance. We have enhanced and extended our honors offerings, particularly in social studies, because we knew that if students were not the accelerated path, they may not be CPs. We need to find that middle ground for students to be successful. But in this regard, we kept pace with what the state expected us to do. We are awaiting, which will be coming back to you all whenever we get the word from the department, there's going to be an honors rubric of how we look towards offering honors credit courses. So thus far, we have felt very confident that what we look for in honors weighting has been to our expectations that would match or exceed anyone else's. But because the State Department is working on a rubric, we've got to slow down just a bit to see what this rubric is going to look like. I do know that we have, in School District 5, we have actually sent art teachers to be involved with this rubric design because we were only asked to send one specialty, which happened to be art for our pick, not our choice, but by the department's invitation. So once I see this draft, I'm expecting to see that's going to have a wider range as opposed to just the traditional content areas. But that too is forthcoming. So like Ms. Hammond, I owe you that one as well. But we don't have a definite approval of that rubric this time, which is going to impact the way we code courses and the courses that we can then offer.
Thank you. And I think it's just an amazing testament to what we're doing in the district and the breadth of classes that our students have available to them. I'm amazed every time I sit with guidance, and we just did that with our 10th grader, just what they have. So thank you for all the work that goes into that.
Thank you.
I have one little follow-up, this probably doesn't even apply here, but looking at those hours to have dual credit courses or online courses and virtual courses, how in the world would we monitor the time frame for something like this? This is something, a shot in, I would assume that could come into play because you either do it at school or through an accredited university approved by the principal. How are we handling that, or are we just not handling that right now? Just to
You know, what I say today may change tomorrow, right? So I can tell you
Right.
about
You
the
just pulled
trial.
out your folder, I figured you had more in there, so.
That's not in the folder yet, but I'm sure it's forthcoming. We did do a trial. We had some students that were interested to give a course a try with SC Virtual, and we had not made it through the first quarter before those students and their families said, this solution is not working for our students. We need to have a teacher. So we quickly made a redesign and found a qualified teacher. And Dr. Jakes will tell you, we have some teachers that have been so committed to the success of our students that we're able to purchase their planning period in a sense so that they have a planning period after hours to make sure that students get their instructional needs met. And Ms. Hammond, you know as a teacher how difficult it is to have that planning time taken away. So for them to wait to have it after school to reach a student's needs, that's just a testament to the commitment of our teachers. So we have tried that, Mr. Gant, but it was not successful for us with that one experiment, but we will not give up. We'll try it again. And I'm thinking looking towards dual enrollment, there may be some opportunities that we can look to do that, because we have been tasked to work with the University of South Carolina at Lancaster as our partner here in the Lexington County areas. So we're talking with them of what kind of things might we do to be able to partner with them, but still using our faculty. So that may be a good blend between the two.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? I'm sure it's coming back next time. So
It
we
is.
Appreciate the great
Absolutely.
responses to that and the thoughts gone into this. That brings us to item number 18, proposed 2017, 2018 board meeting calendar. We may just want to table this and have you come back, Mr. Bounds.
That's fine by me. I'll come back.
Time to refine.
Anytime
Yeah.
that the board calls, I will be here, I promise. But I am bringing to you the 2017-18 proposed board meeting schedule. As you know, the board has made a commitment to move to all of our schools to make sure that they get an opportunity to move throughout the district, to hear from each principal in their turn, so that each principal gets to show you, as they did here this evening, the great things going on in their school. Sometimes, as you know, it creates some challenges to make everything fit, but the board has made a commitment to move to each cluster, to spend time in each school. And so the schedule that we have reflects that. We move from the Chapin cluster to Dutch Fork to Irmo and continue that cycle through. And then the center has always served, since they've been open, as our summertime place. They can serve board meetings very well there. And so this mirrors the schedule from this year very closely. I'll take any questions you have.
Ms. Hammond.
It's not a question. I think it's very valuable to be in the schools, but I also realize, I would think sometimes we might ought to have one at the district office simply because of the decorum to be at the district office where it's sort of all of our employees are, and when it would be there, they don't all have to carry stuff somewhere, and I know it's trouble. But I mean, I wouldn't take away, the way we used to do it, Mr. Gant, we always had them out in the schools, but we had some at the district office. So I would just, and all that is an observation, I may be the only one that thinks that, but I think sometimes it's good to be in the central location where it's not any one school, and just think those principals don't have to stay there that late that night and everything. I'm just saying, sometimes, a few out of however many we have.
Yeah, in the summer.
Yeah, at some point, because all of these, I didn't see any at the district office. And then Dr. Hefner did such a great job on fixing that room up for us to meet in, and then we don't meet in there anymore, so.
Well, the board conference room is a good room, but the board meeting room,
It's gotten too small.
well, I think it has a very limited capacity. Parking is also an issue, but, I'll go wherever you want to go. So-
Well, I'm only saying it to the board for thought. I mean, I'm not trying to change that right now, but I just was, I think there's value in being at the district office sometimes, and I don't mean all of them there.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Bounds. That was magnificent. Thank you. That brings us to item number 19,